still need that shooting and they need that veteran presence. But I mean, I think like it's also again to what Monty Williams said. I believe he has a pulse on the roster, but he doesn't really know what he's working with yet because too many pieces he needs to get a look at of how they fit into his plan or not playing right now due to injury. So I believe we'll see Livers out there and getting his shot, and from there we'll see whether he is worth his salt within Monty's system or not. So I'll say on that part it's kind of like null and void.
I gotcha. What do you see a trade coming anytime soon? Like whether it's before this regular season starts or a few weeks into it, like I know Troy Weaver keeps a tight lip, but I mean, is there any talks in the Pistons organization about a trade coming?
I personally have not heard any leaks of a trade looming, but when I will say this, when you look at the makeup of the roster, one would think that somebody's being moved. I don't know who it's going to be. I mean, we know it's not going to be Cade, Jaden, or what. We know it's not going to be Cade. I'll just leave it at that. But they have a lot of pieces that just do not really mesh together totally.
Yeah.
I think that with Steven Adams going down with an injury, with the season-ending injury, the surgery today with the PCL, the Pistons have a lot of bigs. I mean, if I were to assume something, I would assume they would pick up the phone and say, "Hey, how much do you got? What do you want for Wiseman, or what do you want for Bagley?" Just so they can go ahead and get somebody else in there.
Yeah, go get Zaire Williams. Hey, you joking, man? That he shot the shit out the ball this preseason.
Oh, you said Zaire. I thought you meant Zion Williamson.
Zaire Williams from Stanford.
I like him. I like Santi Aldama though. That's my guy. If I were the Pistons, I'd try to rip him from Memphis. I think there's something to that guy's game. Let's talk about this trade discussion though. So Detroit and Houston. This comes from Jake Fisher, and he said that there was a trade involving Alec Burks going to the Houston Rockets for, I guess, Victor Oladipo. Is there any truth to those rumors, or, I mean, what are you hearing about that type of, or if you're hearing anything?
I haven't heard anything about it. Just being honest, today was my first day back at the Performance Center from covering the Lions, but just from the people I've talked to, I haven't heard anything about that. And honestly, just given Victor's injury history, I would be shocked if they made that trade.
Yeah, I'm honestly torn when I heard the news because I think the Pistons, they do try to win this year, and you need a veteran like Alec Burks. He's going to win some games for you. He's going to pull you out of something when it matters because he's just a veteran. He has experience. He's been in the league for a long time. But where I'm torn at is, though, just the play for Marcus Sasser, where I'm like, man, this kid is pretty good, and I want to see him get minutes. And if the season is lost early in the first couple of weeks, I wouldn't mind bringing in a guy like Victor Oladipo just because, again, it's a guy that's been around the league. He's not going to play because he's hurt, so there's free up minutes for the young guys. But, again, I am torn when I heard this news because I am a huge Alec Burks fan, and I don't know, man. It's just – it kind of bothers me just a little bit that – we might be trading Alec Burks for nothing, but at the same time, there's a silver lining between it where Marcus Sasser might get some more minutes.
I just don't see it, just from the way that Monty Williams and Troy Weaver have talked about the addition of the veterans in the room to help mature this young roster. I don't see them moving Alec Burks for a guy that is not going to contribute anything. Even if Burks is not contributing the minute, let's say right now we're assuming Burks might start, but even if he's coming off the bench to Jaden Ivey, that's still a veteran in the room that you can bring. You can start or bring him off the bench, and he's a good bucket from long distance. And he's just that, like you said, that veteran voice in the room to point things out to these guys and coach them up. You can never with him, Joe Harris, and Monte Morris. I think that's enough veterans in the room, and I don't see them moving that for a guy that's. I mean, no disrespect to Victor Oladipo, but he's not really contributing what these guys should contribute to, though.
Yeah, like if you kind of look at like the contract perspective with Burks and Oladipo, very similar contracts,
Yeah.
like around $10.5 million. The only thing I would say is if this trade was like an actual thing, defensively you're getting better. But in the same breath, Oladipo is coming off a really serious injury. And I think the only reason why it could possibly make sense is an OKC connection. Because Victor Oladipo was in OKC with Troy Weaver at the time when he was over there in the front office with Sam Presti. But I mean, at
what point are you going to stop bringing in the OKC guys that do not work?
You know what? It reminds me of when Van Gundy was here a lot. I've mentioned that a lot, like Van Gundy bringing in his former guys, like a 45-year-old overweight Jameer Nelson. Like sometimes you got to stop playing favorites and you just have to go for the best available talent. But I don't know, man. Like if you do want to trade Burks, I could understand it because you have Joe Harris in the locker room. And I'm not saying they're the same player because I think Burks, to me, is such a great follow baiter. He just gets to the line effortlessly versus Joe Harris is just kind of like a catch and shoot and a movement shooter. But like for Oladipo, it makes no sense. I think Houston just wants to get off of his contract because they've already had the Victor Oladipo experience, and I think they had enough. I think they're just trying to cut cap and trying to see what they can actually get for a guy like him.
And on top of that, I think if you're going to trade Burke, you can trade him. You can make him a nice piece of part of a bigger trade for a player that's going to come in and instantly contribute to this roster. So that's why I just want to understand trading a productive player for a guy that's not going to be bringing you anything. And you're trying to go ahead and make your name for yourself with, Troy Weaver. The Troy Weaver regime really just started right now because he has his first head coach. And I don't think that would be a good move, bringing in a guy that's not going to be an instant contributor. I think you can if you decide to move Burks, you can package him as part of a bigger trade to bring in somebody that's going to instantly contribute and benefit this team as they try to, at least trend towards play-in playoffs.
Yeah, he'll be a Laker, I guarantee you, by the end of the year. He'll be playing with LeBron, and we're probably getting Cam Reddish back or something like that. You never know.
Never know.
Who do you think has more value, though, between Alec Burks and Bojan on the trade market?
That's a tough one. I would say right now, Burks, just off of the simple fact that Bogey ended last season with an injury, starting this season with an injury, so teams could probably get gun shy, and he's also a little bit up there in age. If it weren't for the injuries, I would say Bogey because he's a sniper. We already know that. But as of right now, I'll just say it's Burks because of health. You don't want to. Again, it's the same thing. I'm one of those guys that's always big on health. I'm not trading for injured players. Well, if I were a GM or a coach, I would not trade for injured players. I would need instant contributors, and I think that Burks will be the guy before Bogey. Now, if Bogey comes back and we see him a couple of weeks, couple of months, and he's fully healthy, hey.
Yeah, I mean, call the Bucks, see what they want for Bobby Portis.
Dude, I would love that. I really would. I mean, I love Bobby Portis. His game and his makeup says Detroit. Monty Williams has said that Bojan and Monty Morris will miss the season